It may be the worst kept secret here in Washington that the Republican establishment can't stand Donald Trump. That's been pretty evident from the beginning, and you see establishment figures and particularly conservative commentators and columnists who care a lot about their ideological principles have been ripping Trump, minimizing his chances, and all of that. You've seen that for months and months now. But something is starting to change, and I'm picking up a little bit of an air of desperation now that we're less than a month away from the Iowa caucuses. The reality that Trump may actually win, if not Iowa, New Hampshire, many other states, and possibly the GOP nomination, is really starting to aggravate people who see themselves as the guardian of the grand old party. And a couple of columns in the last couple of days have really driven that home. So we have Michael Gerson, former Bush White House aide, who writes in the Washington Post that Trump's nomination would replace the humane ideal at the center of the Republican Party and its history. The party would cease to be. Pretty strong language. He calls Trump a demagogue. Gerson also says that Trump is disqualified for the presidency by his erratic temperament, his ignorance about public affairs, and his scary sympathy for authoritarianism. And then there's Doug Heye, known to a lot of people here in D.C. as a veteran Republican operative and strategist who's worked on the Hill and for campaigns and for the RNC. And he writes that Trump's perversion of conservatism, along with the devastating impact he'd have if nominated. Therefore, I, Doug Heye, cannot support Donald Trump were he to win the Republican nomination. He calls him dangerous to the United States and the world at a time when the world is at risk. Now, these are not the kind of statements that you can walk back if Trump wins the nomination. This is not the kind of, even when politicians say, I don't think so-and-so is qualified, or I'm unnerved at the thought of so-and-so sitting in the White House. When it's eventually your guy doesn't win and the other guy wins and that person is going up against Hillary Clinton, you find a way to say, yes, I know I said some harsh things in the past, but clearly would be a lot better than Hillary Clinton. Well, when you have people like Gerson and Heye and others saying, essentially this would destroy the Republican Party, I cannot support Donald Trump, it's not the kind of thing where you can climb down. And so it does suggest that if Donald Trump indeed fights his way to the GOP nomination, that some of the people who he would deride as the losers and the incompetents and the people who've helped give us all these problems are not going to be in his corner. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that that's going to fatally damage Trump's candidacy, because I think Trump also has the potential to pick up support from some Democrats and independents who like his sort of strong message on ISIS and building a wall and all of that. But it does seem like it will create a bit of a crisis for the Republican Party itself. The Democratic Party has been through this in some past elections when far-left candidates have faced off against insurgents or versus the party establishment. Bill Clinton tried to change the Democratic Party. But this says to me that I don't want to say there's a level of panic, because I admire people who speak out on principle. But the things that they are saying about Donald Trump tell you how deep and emotional the divisions are between Trump and at least some elements of the Republican Party. And if he is on his way to the nomination, this is only going to get louder and more intense.